to Third Party with Jaiga, Nikki and Ro'dey. Welcome.
All right, guys, want to say welcome to it. This is Spaces, our next episode. You know, we do it each and every Wednesday, midweek. We like to come here to unwind, speak on things, anything. We talk about just about everything inside of these spaces. And it's always a little place, as Nikki likes to say, to clear your kundalini. You come on here, say what's on your chest, get things off your chest, express yourself in a way that, you know, it's comfortable to you. And we try to talk about just every and anything. Today's topic, though, seeing this one might hit home for some people. We talking what is going to be your well, I don't want to say reaction. How would you deal with your partner, your significant other embarrassing you in front of loved ones? How you think you're going to deal with that? That's what we're talking about today. Like, you ever go by a brethren and you want him cool, and when you reach by him, he yell flying up, and you're very uncomfortable in this space because she talking down to him in a manner that you really didn't know they used to behave that way when you go by them. So you feeling shame, he shame, everybody shame. So I'm asking in this space tonight, I can be honest, have you ever been in a situation where your partner embarrass you in front of loved ones? Like, you go to a dinner, Thanksgiving was just done. I was at a Thanksgiving dinner. Thank God that it didn't turn into a ruckus. It was almost heading there though. It had a ruckus energy, but oh God, all here. Kevin don't say nothing, eh? It had some ruckus energy, but it worked out. So we're talking tonight. Have you ever been in a situation where your partner embarrassed you in front of a loved one? And if so, what do you think is the best way to cope with a situation like that? Are you going to disbandle the relationship? You're done, or they're done in that moment, or it's something you could walk back, work through, figure out, find some kind of conflict resolution inside of this space, figure out why it is exactly the person behaved that way, or ask yourself what you did to create the issue. Because sometimes things happen, and they might have a misunderstanding that wasn't cleared up before, and it so happened that a family member come around in the wrong timing, and it ended up in bacchanal. So that's what we're talking about today.
I have a question before I say anything. Good night, everybody.
Tongue in cheek was good.
That's not a question. You said in front of a loved one?
In front of your loved ones, yeah.
If you and your mother-in-law don't have a good relationship, does she count?
Well, it could be. Well, that's a family member. Yeah, she counts in a way if you're any mother-in-law. But it works like this. You mean like, if your significant other embarrass you in front of your mother-in-law, you mean if she counts?
Yes.
Well, if you don't consider your mother-in-law, I guess not. In a case like that, might not. But it will still be uncomfortable. I'm sure you'll be uncomfortable still.
Yeah, and I will go on to add that usually when things like that happen, that's a sign that you shouldn't go forward. But usually when you're thinking with the right head, you still make the mistake. But I'll give you an experience that I had. I was dating my ex-wife, and I was over at their house having lunch, and she had made a dish, and she asked my opinion of it, and I gave a sarcastic remark, and she was eating a chicken bone with her mom. All three of us were sitting there, and she was eating a piece of chicken leg, and the bone, she took it and felt and hit my head with it.
What?
So, her mom says nothing. It just went by smooth, as though nothing happened. And here I am, feeling embarrassed and insulted that you hit me with a chicken bone in my head. Subsequently to that, we ended up getting married, but that was the right thing on the wall anyway.
So that was the red flag that you ignored?
Yeah.
Well, you're a better man than most. Tongue in cheek, I'll tell you that. You're a better man than most, and I applaud you for holding composure in that instant. But that's kind of disrespectful though. But again, you said you had a sarcastic remark. So you triggered the bone. For what? That's what you're saying. If you're being honest, you triggered the bone.
Right, but remember, we both supposed to take the high road, but apparently she didn't. And that was the end result.
Wow. Well, yeah, well, I understand why you ask now how, if it's a mother-in-law, how you feel, but it's embarrassing either way. I don't know how I would have deal with that situation. Somebody pelting a bone across
And she was never admonished for it.
Sorry?
No, across the table.
Across the table. Yeah, but was it spoken of after? Like when you all left or...
No, because I know my temperament at the time. If I had to address it, it would not have been pleasant. You know, so I had the control not to address it after that. But apparently I was traumatized because it's been over 20-something years and I still remember it.
Well, yeah, that is a traumatizing experience. So I believe, do you still eat chicken bone? No, if I was you, I'd never eat meat again.
Well, I don't eat meat.
Hey, oh God, yeah, but that different. I have heard about stories in a different environment, but that one a little different though. That's a little harsh for her to decide to pelt a bone across the room while you were having it. But you mind sharing what did you say? All right, when she asked about the food, with the sarcastic remark, I should say, was it along the lines of it's not good or you had better?
All I said, it didn't taste good, which I was being sarcastic because she could have cooked.
Right.
I just said, it didn't taste good.
So was the bone? So if you're looking back on it now, as you say, 25 years later, was the bone pelt jokingly, or you think it was pelt in a serious way?
It was pelt in a serious way. Like, how dare you comment about my food?
Oh. So I guess she didn't take it as she didn't hear the sarcasm behind the statement. So she took it serious.
Yes.
All right, cool.
And it boils down to that she didn't get to know me. And the reason why the relationship deteriorated over the years.
All right. I hear that. I hear you loud and clear. I want a lady to come and weigh in. You know, you all women always sharp on the mouth. Lily.
Lily have an engagement.
Huh?
Lily have an engagement.
She has an engagement?
I'm here.
Oh. I want you to weigh in. Have you ever been embarrassed, or have you ever embarrassed anybody or did anything similar?
Well, here's the thing. It takes a whole lot for me as a person to feel embarrassed because there is nothing about myself that I can't or won't laugh at. Mm-hmm. So it's almost impossible for me to feel embarrassed about things that happen to me. And if I'm embarrassed, I do it on purpose because I know it will get safe.
All right, but in a case like what he just described is not something that was said. It was a physical something that was done.
I might laugh it off. I mean, I don't know that you can tell a chicken bone at me and it's either I'm going to laugh it off or you're going to end up in the hospital. But one of the two things going to happen, I won't be embarrassed about it.
Okay, then.
But that's just me, right? That's just me. Like, I could wear something with holes and feel no how. Somebody could say something about me and I would feel no how. I don't know. I just don't have that mechanism where I'm easily embarrassed by anything. The only thing I could see myself embarrassing a man about and feel maybe a little kind of way afterwards, because I don't fake, right? I don't feel it is in your best interest for me to fake. So I could see myself saying, once I tell yourself to do this.
Oh, wow.
But that's in your best interest for you to improve. That's not intended to embarrass. That's for the sake of information.
That's embarrassing and you know it. Come on, we all adults here. Nobody's doing that with the best interest for you to improve. That's not how you do it.
Yes. I don't want to send you out into the world because granted, you're not staying with me, obviously. That is not going to be staying with that. You can't do that here twice.
Wow.
So I'm not sending you out into the world to disappoint another woman. I had to let you know, listen, you fall short in a major way. I don't know what was that, but...
Okay, but if you have some kind of, if the person, you have some kind of likeness for the person, you don't think it's something you could work through?
I think especially if I have a likeness for the person, I should tell you fall short. I don't know.
Right, but that was a one experience though. You could work through that. That was a one experience. So in
I don't know you would get experiences, bro. You don't know how to do that.
What?
I don't know how that happened. You can't give what you don't have.
Wow. All right. Okay. Cool. So you're just not willing to work with it at all. You just go and tell him to keep it pushing. Find somebody who might. I guess he might be evenly yoked with respect to size.
It's not fair for me to speak on something I didn't feel.
Oh wow. Okay. You have a pleasant night. You have a pleasant night, and I will appreciate it if you don't speak again for the rest of the night until it's time to wrap up.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Thank you very, very much. Alicia, what's going on?
I like your style.
Alicia, good night. I know bring in. You're a good person to weigh in on this. Where's Paula? Paula is a good one as well. Paula, good night. What's good? Hello? Paula. Can a delayed response, boy? Paula, you inside, you know?
Please don't open neighbor's mic. Please don't open neighbor's mic tonight.
No.
Yeah, it was a delayed response. I had silence. So I actually had this situation happen both ways, where I unknowingly embarrassed the person, and the person also unknowingly embarrassed me. And I am not one for public displays of drama. So when that happened to me, I pulled the person aside. I said, "Hey, this is how I felt. This was the situation." Granted, what the person was doing was to help me, but they didn't realize how it came off and how I felt it sounded to others. So I pulled them aside, talked to them, and they actually apologized in front of me and the loved ones that I had.
Right.
And discussed it.
That was good.
However, yeah, that is good.
That was
However,
very good.
I could see also how you could trip off in a moment if you're not present and emotionally aware of why you're getting triggered. I think some of that takes practice. You have to be very present with yourself to know, yes, doesn't feel right. This person could be borderline abusive as well, because words are abusive and can be violent. And I think if it is that you think that, then really, is this person somebody you want to continue that relationship with? Do you think it will change, particularly if the person has had a pattern of being critical to you in public?
Right.
And you all have talked about it and it's still happening. I think that as a whole different set of neuroses going on there in that relationship. And sometimes you have to look to see that's emotional abuse as well. So, tongue-in-cheek situation where his wife threw the bone at him.
She wasn't his wife at the time, though. She wasn't his wife at the time.
Okay. Even worse, yeah, I would say that even though it may not have hurt him physically, I think that was borderline abuse because it shows a lack of respect. And it would likely have shown up, and tongue-in-cheek can attest, in other aspects of their relationship.
Mm-hmm. That's what he's saying. He's saying just that. He said that he think he was traumatized by it, and hence why the relationship didn't last.
Right, but the other part of that is that tongue-in-cheek didn't bring it up with her. He didn't have that hard, difficult conversation where everybody uncomfortable. A lot of times you could probably stand the discomfort of the crowd more than the person you have to interact with.
Oh, tell me about that.
So you might be publicly embarrassed, but that you're not going to see them. They might forget. They might make a joke. Smooth it over just for your sake.
Mm-hmm.
But dealing with that person one-on-one, different kettle of fish, and it might just be easier to sweep that under the rug and cross your fingers and hope it ain't happening again. So I think some of it, whether you want to work it out, depends a lot on who you are. And if that person has a pattern of being critical or putting you down, but I think that's trending towards an abuse in the relationship, at the very least in this respect, that is hard to survive and it erodes trust over time. So now that doesn't mean that there weren't times when I felt like burying the person in the backyard when they said certain things to me. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Hold on, good night. Mom. Please. You have police in the backyard, Paula?
Wait, let Paula finish that. She said it's just a thought, Kevin. She thought about putting bodies in the backyard. She never did. It's a feeling. A feeling.
The spouse is always the first suspect.
For real. No, but guys, I'm so happy that Tongue in Cheek brought that up, so he can take the conversation in a different direction with something like that. And as I said before, kudos to him for keeping his composure and for dealing with it how he dealt with it. But what Paul is saying is so correct. That kind of abuse, a lot of people are in relationships and ignore the little things at first. And that type of abuse is really, really, and I could attest to that kind of situation where you feel as though it's easier to go through the embarrassment than actually deal with the person. I have honestly been there. There was a scenario one time. I will share. You know me, I did my business in the road anyway. It doesn't matter. Risa's mom, while she was pregnant, we went to a house line, right? And when she pulled into the house line, we walked into the house line. The matriarch of the home that we went to was also pregnant. So that was the purpose of the line. And my brethren, his wife at the time pregnant, he said, boy, let's come through like we lime. Everybody thing is like a pregnant line. Going in the session, she walked in. So the woman of the house said, good night. As in, well, you're coming at me, which is respectful. If you walk in somebody's space, you should say good night. And she was answered with a, what if a good night? And it ended up in a exchange of words. You come in my place and did it on his back and out. In the moment, as anybody, I felt like, whoa, this kind of antness. And it was subsided. Different people came in, sorted it out, and we all kind of put it under the rug as hormones. We hid behind the fact that two bellies clash and everybody on edge because everybody in the last trimester, so it's sticky. You understand? But really and truly, that was a quality that I guess the character of the person was just that. And it was easier in that moment to just kind of put it under the rug and not go and not mention it ever again, because the confrontation that you had to face after is worse than the actual cuss out that happened in the moment. You think? So for me,
I got some of that is, what do you have to lose, right? So if you confront, what are we risking? We're risking a relationship probably not ever coming back together, and not everybody ready for that.
Yeah, I know that.
So that's a disruption in the whole social order.
You're risking your discomfort as well, because this is the person that if you're sharing a space with this person, this is the person you share space with. You're risking your discomfort. So sometimes, a lot of the times, you just leave it alone. And I said in that instant, we just put it under the rug and sum it up to, oh God, I'm emotional, man, because they're pregnant. But when it had nothing to do with that. Moving forward now, past that, it had nothing to do with that. That's just who the individual is. You think?
I'll also say that some of it has to do with what is your pattern of dealing with conflict from your first community, your family. So I have an experience where the family that I married into, they're very open. If you have a disagreement, you talk it out.
Right.
Whereas my family, not like that.
Got you.
So it was actually quite refreshing and very respectful as well. And it was refreshing because that was just not something, and I had to learn those skills and be okay with the discomfort. So a lot of times, you might think you're risking discomfort, but think back to when you first had to deal with conflict in your family and how it showed up between your parents, between your siblings, between you and your parents. Because that is a lot of times the template for how you go ahead and deal with discomfort later on in life. So Dr. Amala could expound more on that.
Yeah,
and you, Jaiga.
We'll bring her in, but you're correct too, because like for me personally, if on a personal level, I never experience conflict home, like inside of my family space. I never really experienced, how some families always raucous, but by extension, the extended family was raucous. I was actually having a conversation with Dr. Amala about that. I had an aunt, right, who was total opposite to my mother. When I tell you the total opposite, my mother is the wife of a reverend. So she lived a particular way. She grew up in Catholic school and the first man she danced with at a ballroom is who she got married to, had children, yada yada, that kind of story. And this aunt, well, and not blood aunt, this is somebody that my mom grew up with, and we all lived in like what we call like what is called tenement yard. And she was raucous. And the first violence or act of violence I ever saw in my life was from her. I remember there was a night, you hear in the raucous, the cussing and the crying on you, and only ramp and the ramp. And she took a bursting cutlass and chopped up my uncle. Right? And mind you, after all the chop, the day after, she feeding him melon, eh? The same man she chopped up and was in bandage is the same man she took to the hospital and feed melon. So their way of dealing with conflict or dealing with anything was like that. I didn't see it like in my home space, like to say home. Like I never hear my father raise his voice at my mother. I never hear my mother raise her voice at my dad. Me and my siblings, me and my sisters never had any falling out. Me and all my sisters are super, super tight. So I didn't know about that. But by extension, I saw it by extension. And it was, and I guess for me, I kind of figured out and ran from that kind of energy. So for want of a better word, I try to keep that energy as far away from me as possible. So Paula, you're correct. If you said you married into a family who dealt with, so in my personal family, I didn't have to deal with conflict like that. We never dealt with conflict. If something happened, we kind of just, you talk about it. No meeting now because of the world has changed. Now I see head of my family because I'm the only man standing. I call family meetings. That's a thing we do now. But back then I didn't have family meetings, but we do it now. She's finally here, guys. She is here. Let me bring her in.
Nikki!
Hold on. I'm bringing her in. As I told you from the top, she will be a little late because she was traveling. Nicole.
I is rich.
What's going on?
Oh, Lord, I apologize. I came in at a touchdown in Florida at 6, but the traffic is like rush hour.
It's fine. You're here. And let me just bring you up to speed real quick.
You're on power last now?
Yes.
Let me bring you up to speed real quick. We're talking about if your partner, has your partner ever embarrassed you in front of your loved ones? And how you deal with it. And then tongue and cheek came and gave a beautiful story that before he got married, him and his wife and his to-be wife and mother-in-law at the time was having dinner, and she asked like how the food tasting. He gave a sarcastic remark, nothing too. He said it was funny. It was all in the realm of being sarcastic. And she take a chicken bone and pell behind him.
Oh.
Yeah, she ate him with a bone across the table. And
wow,
he managed it quite well, very, very poised and no kind of bacchanal it was done. But he said he felt it traumatizing because he never mentioned it. He left it alone, but that was like the first red flag for him. And fast forward to now, they divorced or whatever. So he knew that, that was one of the red flags that the relationship would not work. But at the time, he didn't deal with it. And Paula came in and said she had a similar situation, not with pelting at the bone, but with somebody embarrassing her. But the person in the space of everybody apologized and they worked it out in the space, which, that too was good. So we're just trying to talk about conflict resolution inside of that kind of energy. Like if you ever get somebody to, like Jerry ever embarrass you in front of your mother?
Or in front of my mother.
You ever embarrass him in front of anybody, like friends, like Ole having a lime home and you come out and you start to get on and a kind of uncomfortable way for him to feel weird.
Yeah. And I now understand the theme of the night. I've always been aware of things like that, meaning that I never go to my way to embarrass anybody in front of anybody. Don't care who it is. I'm not of that. But in relationships, sometimes you could say something in a joke in front of your family because everybody comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But the person take it a certain way. So I'm sure it has happened. I try to remember offhand if Jerry ever did that to me. Nothing coming to mind, but I remember once when we were first talking about Ziggy, and he wasn't real particular about small dog living in the house, and I grew up with that. And my sister's dog was having pups, and she said, so you're going to talk to Jerry? And I was like, hey, don't worry, Jerry, I got that covered. And I was joking. But he heard it, and he felt disrespected, it's almost
I tell you can bring dog in my place? I tell you can bring dog in my place?
And I remember him talking to me about it, and in my mind was just a joke, and I honestly didn't mean nothing by it. But again, it depends on the topic, how sensitive it is, and how the other person take it. And but it have people who will embarrass you and tell you, oh yeah, no, walking away in front of your mother, and totally embarrass you. That is when it kind of crosses the line. But I've never been of that, and I don't like nobody. If you do me that, Jaiga, I'm crying and going, I'm a cry. Oh, they know that. I can't take both.
You cry for advertisement, we know that.
Yeah, I can't take both. If somebody did something like that, I can't take both.
But Paul was talking about that earlier. She said, well, that's a form of abuse. If somebody going to them extent to embarrass you like that. And I do think that, and that's not even coming from a place of love. Somebody who doing that that's vindictive and that's evil, they need some kind of help, because that's not cool at all. But I have had experiences where, as you was just saying, Nikki, as you say it, I get a flashback. You see lime, like family lime or a gathering at the house, it could get weird. Because I remember one time I had a lime, and there's any days when marriage was fresh before I was not married again, but when I was married and thing was early, and you find you get a tone. It's a tone. It started like a tone. Like, I thought I'd tell you to. So you know how to kind of pull back yourself and like, you thought you were, but you can't really flare because your mother there, your sister them there, this one day, that one day.
No, but it always have a tone with husband and wife.
Yeah, but but I think as human beings, and listen, we should all be very mindful and self-aware enough to understand space and time and place. And I think I have grown enough now that I will never ever allow, regardless of what it is, I prefer sending a WhatsApp amongst everybody to be like, hey, so is the case. I'm not going and flare up in front of your family and be like, but I thought I tell you, nah. No, I'm not condoning that. I'm not condoning that no how, but I guess you know how things is go. And at the time, I felt uncomfortable. But I wasn't as self-aware as I am now to have a conversation to be like, hey, I didn't like what you do. I just let it pass. And then you wait down, dude. And then fast forward to when you're looking to separate now, you're cussing mother, so on. So you remember when you'd fucking tell me whatever and you're cussing and you because you want to flare. Now I could flare because you're thinking good. So I say, you remember when you'd fucking tell me your mother? Yeah. But thank God, I've grown.
In the growing, it's also important to talk to your partner to let them know you felt uncomfortable about something. You have to kind of nip it in the bud because it will fester. And from a woman's point of view, you could make a man feel very, not man, depending on what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Not man enough. So I think it's, because we always talk about relationships and how we could better our relationships. And that's definitely one of the things I've learned with living with a man so long. You nip it in the bud. Because he can't read your mind and I can't read your mind. How much times, ladies, we come home and we vex and we holding it in. And the man had to be going, what happened? I got, and hope that the man
figure it out.
Understand how upset we are. And most of the times they don't. Because most of the times we have to explain to them, look, they do this, I didn't like this, But most men cannot read our minds, even though we have attitude, because I do the same thing. In other words, walk out a vex and try and figure out why I vex. No, come straight out and say what the problem is. and discuss it and try and push from there.
That's why the new mantra is get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. If everybody just apply that to their everyday life, things will work out way better. And
but Jaiga, sometimes that language people don't have. Like Nikki talk about being quiet. I tend to stop because a lot of times how I feel in any moment, it will come out. It won't come out right. So I have to pull back, like my husband said. Instead of taking 5 days, it's taking 5 years. 5 years later, I now hearing about this conversation, and I exaggerated. But for me, I need to pull back before I could have that because I have to figure out the language where it's not condescending, where I'm not putting you down. Because in my mind, that's the argument I having with you. And I don't want it to come out in real. For me, being quiet is so I could organize my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings. So I could have that intelligent conversation.
But that's it, Paula. You're going to have the conversation. I'm talking about when we don't have the conversation. When we keep it in, and then we might ease up and forget until it happens again. And it's on a next level now because you did it already. So we never discuss it. We never deal with it. So it happened again. But Nikki, good night. Don't mind. I don't have permission to speak for the rest of the night.
You do not, but I will grant you a minute.
Yes. What will he do?
Nah, she coming off, very off this one, very, very off.
So, don't mind, I don't have permission to speak for the rest of the night until the end. What Paul is saying is very, very true because especially for us as women, you have to choose your timing and take your battles because sometimes it don't even matter if you're right. Sometimes you just don't want to put that energy out. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to really even jump out and say, no, I don't like it. Sometimes it's too small, just leave it alone. Or you know what? You might say, well, I'll hold it, and then I'll hold it, and it can bring it up next week when it's like...
Yeah, but Lily, hear this though. You see that mentality when you're saying if it even worth it is so small, you're diminishing the man too in that moment because you feel as though you so better than me that you don't even want to have a conversation because you feel it petty. It might be petty to you.
No. To me, it might be more important to have peace than to be right.
It might be more important to what?
To have peace.
Yeah, but it's when we real peace though. That peace is a false peace because we ain't discuss nothing. You decide to hold in whatever, and we ain't discuss it. That peace not real. Think
right,
about
again,
it.
what Lily said is something I always say, which is choose your battle. When you're in a relationship, you have to choose your battle. You can't everything that irritates you want to fight about it. Some things you really have to let go. And you as the person now have to accept that. Okay, there's Nikki throws on his floor, just drive me crazy, but it's maybe one of the battles you decide not to deal with. So I think that's where Lily's coming.
I'll go back to the Point taken, Nikki, but I have $1 million question I've been asking for many years based on that statement, choose your battle. When do you choose the battle? Because with Lily's situation and that feeling problem, that is a battle that worth fighting.
It's not so much when, it's more what you're going to choose your battle. What you're going to battle. Right? When the time comes to battle, you will battle. But my point is there in relationships, there are things that will irritate the hell out of you. It will not sit right in your chest. And it could be different upbringing, something as simple as different upbringing, right? Something, I'm trying to just come up with an example. Okay, so like I was brought up, you never wash your mouth in a kitchen sink. That is a no. Right? You meet a man and every so often, something as simple that could irritate you. Every so often he passed by the kitchen, he washing out his mouth, and you're like, you had that talk with him. But every so often he would do it. And it's not every so often. There's just a battle you decide, you know what? Frig that. They used to every so often. But on the other hand, the next woman will never tolerate that. Yeah, so they just decide what your battle is and how you're going and deal with it.
I understand exactly what you're saying, Nikki, but here was my thing with that, right? I think as a person doing that, you could guarantee me that in you not fighting that battle is not going to fester and create a cancer within you that could cause you to overreact for something that is totally separate and apart from the spitting in the sink? Because you fester in that spitting in the sink, and you're so upset for that.
No. My point is, you're not festering, you let it go, because that's one battle you're not going to deal with. That was just an example of one thing you're not going to deal with.
So you think it possible to really let it go? Because that's the issue man and woman is having. I don't think it's possible. I don't think Alice ever let it go.
No, you have to, because nobody's perfect. You think Jerry perfect? You think I've been with this man for 21 years and he's perfect, and neither am I. So you have to, for them 21 years, like you say, typical example. I drink coffee, I love coffee, but I leave my cup everywhere. I will get up and go inside and leave the cup. That will irritate the hell out of him. But it's not the point of fester where it will explode.
Right.
There are things you have to accept in a relationship that your partners do that will irritate the shit out of you. But there are also those things that will pass that, where it will fester, something that will really get you inside. And those are the ones you really have to deal with.
Yeah, Kevin.
You understand?
Yeah, Kevin.
One of these days, anytime we hear Jerry get a frying pan in the back of your head over that thing, you know why.
Nah, Jerry.
Because there's no way that particular type of thing does get let go. That is only fester and turn into action.
Nah, she knows saying that how it has certain things you have to let go. Yeah, Paula.
Yeah, well, I you know that you're limiting the emotional maturity, man. Because I think, like, there was a situation that happened to me the other day where my spouse was upset. My normal interaction is to defend. The minute I got out of that and I said, let me listen, I let that go. Of course, in my mind, I think I have points, but it's not about me in that moment. It's about him.
Correct.
And what it is that
he's upset about.
How he feels.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did have an issue, and I say, look, for peace sake, I let that go. But I signal that to him. He's going to feel less than. He's going to feel like he's not heard. And he will let me know. So that's for peace sake in that way. I'm not going to get it. But for peace sake, in terms of me listening and recognizing what the issue is, and sometimes you just have to let go of wanting to be right or wanting to be the one who is the victim here and not the other person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the peace sake comes from.
Of course.
That's tongue in cheek.
I think that's
when.
Go ahead.
No, but when tongue in cheek say, how do you choose peace? You choose peace when it says you take an account of yourself and you know this is something that, yes, the person, I can see the person's other side and we can continue to have a dialogue very respectful. And it's not about, well, I am the victim here, I this, I that.
Yeah, because we fall into those traps very easy, and that's when things get haywire because everybody wants to be seen as, in certain situations, either the victim, and then it's like a mini competition that starts where we're trying to compete for who did what more. And many competitions happen in relationships and cause it to fall apart.
Yep. I like what Paula said about letting go. I mean, it happens plenty times in my relationship. It could be man's ego that I have learned to just, okay, stroke it for peace. Many times, if Jerry and I have a disagreement, and I've seen his point, but I know I'm right, so I will let it go. Okay, babe, I hear you. But if I really want to be a bitch, I could push it and push it and push it to show you that I am right. And sometimes you have to just back out for peace. And a lot of it has to do with our egos. And if many times we learn to curb those egos, both man and woman, relationships will last a lot longer. And it doesn't mean that I am a woman and and I always right and man. It's about, relationship. And for you and him always fighting that I am right, you will have clashes. So there are times you have to be able to step down and say, cool, for the peace, for the relationship, not for the I and I. Remember when somebody we wrote, Sometimes they make emotional decisions based on the we road, not necessarily the I.
So, in summary,
Good night. Folks.
Good night. Hold on.
Good night.
So, Paula hit the nail on the head. It in Jaiga. I mean, like, you really don't take with emotional growth. You really just say,
Neighbor, your service is real bad tonight.
choose the road of that whole driving free.
But we can't hear her.
Yeah, neighbor, your service off tonight, girl. Something wrong.
Yeah.
Tongue in cheek, you was going to say something.
Yeah, what I was going to ask Nikki, so then look for the deal breaker. What you can live with and
exactly.
what is not important to the relationship at that point in time.
Exactly. Just, I worry about my nieces and so the next generation, the millennials. Because, I'm living right now with a 24-year-old and she has a boyfriend.
Them is Z. Them are millennial. Them is Z. Yeah.
That is the millennials too, because in the sense that everything is so instant and quick and fixed quick and we always tie it into social media. It's not looking good. You fix it immediately with a filter, and that's not what long-term relationships are.
Facts.
You have to, how you said it, tongue and cheek is, and it is emotional maturity. Because my younger self, that's why I've messed up many relationships. My younger self was about I have to show you I right. I am always right. And it never works like that when both parties trying to be right all the time. So the emotional maturity comes with knowing when to back off, knowing I go back to which battles to fight. There's certain things I'm passionate about, and I'll use the vaccine as passionate.
You are so correct.
We were having this heated argument, and I wasn't backing down, and it's something that probably could have break Jerry and I if we didn't get on that same page, right? But it had reached the point where I couldn't even sit down and discuss it. That was a battle for me, tongue and cheek. I'm going down, we fighting, you're going to get your fucking vaccine, and at all. And I battled till I won that battle, and that was a battle I had to win. So,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, neighbor.
Yeah.
Neighbor.
So, you have to choose your battle.
Yeah, neighbor. Yeah, go through.
Okay. Sorry, I'm driving, just bringing back the child from her vaccine. So, to add to what Nikki was saying and what I was trying to ask Jaiga is that you really don't think, you made a comment that you really don't think women just let go things at any point in time.
No. I was wrong for saying that. I was wrong for saying that they don't. I was wrong for saying that they don't. I'm just saying that history has shown us that they hold on to things way longer than men. So I'm not saying that they don't.
So I remember early when I get married, right? My grandmother was full of all the wedding advice married. And she was, don't go to sleep angry, and not, you don't always have to be right, and all those different kind of things that I think in my head, woman, your first husband, go on and leave. Your second husband dead, what marriage advice you could give me? But I was 0 to 100 for everything. And then when I started to study what she told me about not going to sleep angry, and she was basing that on her second husband had died, they had an argument, and they didn't get to resolve it, blah, blah. And so now when I started to pull back on not being that person to go at everything full 100, some things you just let it go. Yes, I was at that space. It took a while. It was a learning experience because I was at that space where even though I didn't go at it verbally, my facial expression and silence was so deafening to the point where I felt like I was having a heart attack at night sometimes because a hole in the cussing and I can't sleep. And I lie down next to this person and I study in ways to stifle this mofo in his sleep and collect the insurance.
Wow. All of these murderers in here, boy. Damn. You want to stifle, Paula want to dig a grave in the backyard? Way, Papa. All right.
So,
and Lily had the shovel.
Mm-hmm.
The shovel and the rope.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a man with a pig farm.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So it is time, it is consistency. Changing and learning and growth is a learned behavior. And I've come so far, I feel so proud of myself. But yes.
Wow, you see that you buy a book, Gil. You sound like you buy a book. You bought a book. You bought a buck. You bought a buck. Oh man, you bought a buck. Good for you.
But yes, I have a friend who is married now, and she done from day one. She wasn't asking me, well, who's my divorce lawyer? And I'm like, no, everything is a process, But she's still that 0 to 100 real quick. And I tell her, half of the things that you get upset with your husband for don't even warrant you go in there. Like, not everything you need to then pick at. Just because you choose to be the bigger one and you choose not to be upset over every little thing doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you the weaker person. Sometimes you just need to be okay with being okay.
All right, I'm glad you said that, neighbor. I just want to throw this in the pod as it late. I bring this late for spite on purpose. But everybody know we're working on the second project, right? The 22 questions for next year. There's one question in particular that I brought, and we've been doing some research and putting some work, Dr. Amala and myself. And I think it's a very pertinent question for women to ask when you're looking to, get involved or date a guy. You need to find out what this man, is he interested in you as a woman? Listen to what I'm saying, right? Is he interested in you as a woman? A lot of girls get into relationships, a lot of people get into relationships with men, and they don't ask that simple question because there are men who, right now, especially in this new world that we live in. Sorry?
Teacher, I have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the initial attraction between a man and a woman is never about the woman. So the minute that question is posed, a lot of women will end up being single.
No.
If that's the choice.
No. I don't believe that.
Hold on, Jaiga. Wait, Jaiga.
I don't believe that at all. Go ahead.
Somebody was going to talk?
Alicia, go ahead.
When you finish song,
No, he's telling you go ahead.
he's gonna try to nice everyone.
No, he was going somewhere. I want to hear where you're going with it.
What was saying when he finished?
Tongue in cheek, go ahead. They say they want to hear where you're going with it. Go ahead.
Okay. Maybe not Kevin, because as though he objects to that. But anyway,
I too.
The point is, a man's initial attraction to a woman is not a personality. It's not who she is as a person. So if a woman poses a question to a guy who starts to chat her up, you looking to sleep with me or you looking to have some kind of a relationship? The first thing the guy is going to do is hesitate because he might like her, but that's not his objective. I mean, be honest.
Yeah, but all
so
right.
what are you saying is his objective?
That is fact.
Yeah, but
and anytime a woman, a young lady asks a man that, most men run for the
all right, well, quick. Let me put the ice in. Let me put the ice in. I'll rush in the brush. Let me put the ice in. The reason why I said it that way is because the whole to bring it back home, it's geared toward the book is geared towards women over 40. I'm telling you this with fact. A woman over 40 has the right to ask a man that. And if a woman over 40 asks a man that and he doesn't have an answer, he is a waste of time. And that's or they could fight me on that. I'm here to fight. If you are over 40, I'm here to fight. No, but I'm telling you, if a woman can ask a man.
Here's maybe what's in the book. I don't know, but I think when you all say that, what does that mean? So you have to be more specific. Like, okay, if you ask him that and he don't have an answer, what should he be answering? Maybe that's because women can't guess.
No, you can't guess.
No. So we're not asking them to guess. Good night, everybody. So the question really is, are you interested in me as a woman? And so what you want to find out is he interested in you for who you are? Is he interested in you for the connections that you might have, like the circles that you might be in? Could he also possibly be bisexual or gay and you look good because you fit the mold that he needs to have right now? So why are you interested in me? That's what you want to know. And I wanted to hear when tongue-in-cheek said a man is not usually interested in a woman, where he didn't finish the thought. At least I don't think he did.
That is why I was trying to get him to know.
Yes, I want to hear the rest of his story.
Okay, let me fill in the blank. If a man is attracted to a woman, he never says to himself first, on average, most of us first sight think that works. But not everybody falls in love at first sight. But a man is physically attracted to a woman first. He don't know her mind. As an aside, he will never know a woman's mind. But anyway, a man will be attracted physically. With that physical attraction, there's a sexual desire being around.
Right? That I agree with.
So now, only when that interaction, when that sexual desire subsides, and you still associating with that person, now you're dealing with their character and their personality. Now you can determine whether or not you want to have a long-term period of time being around that person. I don't say relationship, because the relationship will develop during the period of time you're around them.
So now we have to ask the question, how far into communication should this question be played?
Tongue in cheek is saying there's some connectivity problems.
You pose that question to me?
No, he posed it to you. He's asking it in general. How far in?
Based on what I heard Dr. Amala said, the first thing came to my mind in response would be, life is not black and white. It's dynamic. Everything plays itself out in the time that it's supposed to be played out. So this move, they had a movie about 3 months rule and all that nonsense. It is when it happens.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with tongue in cheek, boy.
No. Everybody's been getting that. I've been hearing it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Everything is dynamic. It has to happen when it will happen. You can't force it. You can't say, okay, Dr. Amala says I should pose that question after 2 weeks in. I mean, if the sign is there even before 2 weeks in, why pose the question? So it is dynamic.
Time is important in terms of the relationship. You know, there's a time to ask that kind of question. You know, I agree with you. We are tuned on sexually, yes, from a man's point of view, it's visual. But that's a deep question. That's a question where you're kind of feeling the relationship kind of going somewhere. You know, I don't think you could ask somebody that early because they themselves don't know.
You can't ask this on a first date. That's what we know. It's not a first date question.
No. But it's not a first, early part of the relationship either. So you have to want to know if, some person must be feeling you want to take it to the next level.
Right. Agreed. But listen to this, right?
Can this question be turned around? Like,
absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to be turned around. But listen to this, though. The reason why it's geared this way is because that's why it's a niche. It's a niche. We're talking to a specific audience, a specific demographic. This is not a question that's just out there for any young person looking to go there and jam. Because anybody 23, 24, 25, them jamming, them in care to ask a question. This is geared to what? No, 40 is not old. I'm not saying 40 is old at all. I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, Paul, if we're being real, nobody over 40 looking to run around the place and you're just not there. You're physically not there too, especially a man. You understand? You're not there.
Maybe there might be some women who are in menopause and know they can't get pregnant and they was with the one person for all these years.
So you want to be
and
wild.
Now they're free and they want to be wild.
Well, all right. You know that's what you're looking for. So you're not there. So you do that.
And those are not the questions that they would be asking.
Exactly.
They're not asking a question.
Them ain't asking no question. Them don't want to know shit. Them just want to jam. That's cool too. But you have to understand when you're doing research and you're studying people, right? And you're researching people, there's a big fraction of people over 40, women especially, who are now home, especially after the pandemic. They're feeling a type of way. They're struggling. They've been struggling in relationships. They've just been at the week's end and they're looking for something to help them through it. And I believe the tools for that is to ask the right questions getting into a relationship when you're over 40. Because the world has
remember,
changed.
Women over 40 are in their sexual prime. So these women sure that whatever they get into next is going to last, as opposed to just, running around. I don't think that's what they want.
Yeah, especially as Tiger night, everyone. Sorry. Especially if I think these gentlemen for that you're speaking or wanting to get to know is somebody that you are interested in. To be in see someone to share part of their life with you, then that person would come in handy because you need to know where to put your mind at. Because if one person is looking at it as though, well, yes, I've met this person, and like for instance, myself, I am single, I've been single for a while. And if I meet someone that I'm really interested in, like I want to be in their company all the time, I enjoy their mind, their space, everything. That is definitely a question I will ask because I want to know what kind of thoughts I should have when I'm approaching the time that we spend together. If I'm supposed to execute as a short-term thing or something that could develop into something lasting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Mara, I wonder if you could also focus on action. So there's the question, because I have a friend who going through this now. She asked the question, not in any relationship way, and how the person answer it. In his mind, yes, he interested. When you look at the actions, you're like, well, not really.
Right.
True. But this is one of the 22. This is one of the 22. There's plenty other follow-up questions. I'm just putting it out. There's plenty follow-up questions that we will deal with as the months progress. But yeah, you're correct. Action is action. A lot of people see things, but action really solidifies anybody's real intention. And I tell everybody, you just have to wait to see. And character is something that is always shining through. You can say what and do what, but if you're an asshole, you will always be an asshole. That's just how it is. Until you one day decide that, listen, I am an asshole and I really want to go to Asshole Anonymous to not be an asshole anymore. But until you get to that point, you're just going to be an asshole. You dig? So yeah, Kevin, you wanted to say something. Come in, it's that time.
I kind of forget it. But I go come up sometime next time. But came back to one of the early conversations. I was invited to a young lady to meet the family for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of nervous because the relationship was a little serious. Of course, I fall in there. You found good night, everybody. There was thrown up by the fact that I entered the space and I addressed everybody by saying good night. And I start a conversation someday. Where you from? I come from. What country? I come from. Conversation going nice. Oh, you remember? No, I didn't born them time and conversation going. And this young lady said to me, I don't understand why you like all this attention. And for 10 minutes passed and I didn't see her again. So I thought I didn't pay attention to it. Fast forward, leave the woman, leave me by she from me and gone, you know.
Wow.
The part of the story I tell earlier. In deciding to go and meet the family members, the decision was, okay, who will drive? I'll come and pick you up or no, I will come and pick you up. See, nothing going on by me and wait.
So wait,
I will hang with the boy.
She leave you there and you no car?
Oh yeah.
Wait. Kevin, you take a job with a girl to meet your cousin and them, and she leave you by your cousin and them and you have no car.
Go on, because she want me to meet your brothers and cousins and them.
You're a dog in America. You're a dog in America, brother.
And it's I take a little drink. So you know what? I go pick you up. I go drive. All right, cool. Leave my good thing park up in front of me. And it's because she gets vexed because of how all the conversation going and leave me there. When I realize I get leave, I say my good night to everybody.
And look for a train.
I come out. No.
Head for a train.
I in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. I gone in Rosedale, Queens.
Whoa.
In the trees.
Whoa.
Something by your family member. You leave here that way.
Whoa.
What Nikki and everybody in here say tonight? Pick your butter. Maybe 10 years later, she wants me up in a Marshall Monday or something.
And
I never talk to she again.
All right, cool. That was a blessing. Look at it this way. Look at your life now. You're doing way better. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing, my brother.
Sometimes you just want to walk away from certain things.
I hear you, buddy. But she's a dog, though. Just saying. She's a dog. Whitminge. Lily!
Lily?
Lily sleeping? Yeah, it's your time.
Lily, before you start.
What about Bunny?
Oh, yeah, Bunny. Oh, good. I forget about Bunny. Let me get some numbers.
Yeah. 50. The numbers, we had a sturdy 50 tonight, man. You know, great topic, everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah, so we go hand it over to Lily. Somebody trying to make a contribution before Lily there. Yeah, the recap.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, go to Lily.
Okay, so tonight, 1st of December, the topic was supposed to have been about embarrassment in relationship, but the secondary topic was really about red flags, and I will show you how. Okay, why good night. Jaiga mentioned the topic, and as soon as he mentioned the topic from the top, he went ahead to say, Kevin, don't say nothing. So like Kevin living in disarray, and Jaiga decided to put it out there. That is a red flag. Tongue and cheek like a chicken bone to the head. And he didn't actually feel it for about 2 decades, and he took it as a sign to get married. That's a red flag. Paula possibly has bodies buried in her backyard because of potential verbal abuse. Don't ask, don't tell. That's a red flag. Alicia, good night. Dr. Mala, good night. Aces, good night. Colin, Atlanta, good night. Now, Risa, Mommy, and the Jikes went a pregnant line. And apparently what they were serving in the line is pepper sauce and hormones. Jaiga ate it and but Jaiga missed that as a red flag. Okay. So Jaiga have auntie that is chop up man and feed them watermelon the next day. But we call that balance, we don't call that red flag. The Trin-American touched down from Ohio and didn't pay the Wi-Fi before she left Florida. So the signal wasn't too strong. Thank goodness your sister seemed to have a hotspot. Don't mind the little echoing that happened throughout for the rest of the night. That is nothing. The next person that thief and Wi-Fi tonight is neighbor. She says because she's driving in a vehicle, but chances are it's because she didn't pay the bill. Now, neighbor have a grandmother that she decides she ain't judging and she ain't taking no advice from because one of granny husband pass and one of granny husband leave. This time neighbor's the one with anger issues that just go from 0 to 100. Quick. Now, isn't that a red flag? So at 8:50, we managed to start advertising the second book. So we started to talk about one of the 22 questions. But the answer to the question apparently is not coming until next year. So when you say a man's initial attraction has nothing to do with a woman. And Kevin says, Kevin and tongue in cheek both agree that their attractions have nothing to do with women. We're a little confused, but we're not going to touch on that because that has have nothing to do with us. Dr. Amala said the question really is, why is a man interested in a woman? And that is the question that a woman should ask. But we'll get into that next year, April, when the book is launched. Tongue in cheek started cheap Wi-Fi around 8:55, but he said the problem is everybody else and not him. That is a red flag. For the rest of the evening, we moved on to book 2, but Kevin, as usual, was able to bring it back and told us about a woman that leaves him by her family for having manners and brought up seat. Kevin told feelings for 10 years until he ended up in a Marshall Monday, where he was able to say, all right, we cool now. Now, if you could told feelings for 10 years, it's not a red flag, but that's not my business. All you have a good night.
Wow.
Great job, Billy. Great job.
Wow. All right, guys. Have a good one.
100.
Have a good one, guys. Until next week. Have a blessed one. Let's stay safe. Have a great weekend. All right?
Love you all. Thank you.
This is the third party, Jaiga, Nikki, Ro'dey.